Project 2.4.3, Perma-Proto ATmega328P with PCB. The final phase of this project incorporates the design process of a printed circuit board. There were two main objectives for this final stage of the project. The first being to run the same embedded system from the first phase, but on a PCB. The second was to find a way to connect an external voltage source and the AVR cable without damaging the voltage supply lines. This is the diagram of the solution to the second objective of this project. The AVR input and external inputs are combined together for sources of power. The external 7 to 12 volt source goes through the voltage regulator to be brought down to 5 volts. Following external regulation, the sources are brought into this transistor network. The external source goes into the emitter of the PNP transistor, and the AVR source goes into the collector of the NPN transistor. The two external sources are combined briefly to be put as a high signal into this switch. The opposite end of the switch is put into a ground source common to both sources. As a reminder, the base pins of the transistors are very fragile, so they are protected by a 22 kilo ohm resistor. The result of this setup is that the switch controls both sources. When it is set low, the PNP transistor allows the current to pass through and the NPN transistor stops all current. When it is set high, the opposite happens. Since the main element of this project was PCB design, this voltage control system was implemented on a PCB. The PCB was designed on a program called Eagle. The Eagle design process consists of a schematic and a board file. This is the schematic. As you can see here, all of the components are presented and most of the connections are outlined. The components and connections can then be drawn and placed on a board schematic. Here, the components are placed on a board, the dimensions are oriented, and the wires are traced between the components. Other elements such as text and screw holes can be added as well. Once the design of the board is complete, the board files can be sent out to a PCB manufacturing company and then delivered to you. The PCB for this phase of the project was placed on the same case that was used in the previous phase of the project with the Perma-Proto board. The case has cavities that are used by a power jack and a reset button. Above the PCB, suspended by wires, the embedded system is placed on another half-size Perma-Proto board. All of the wires leading up to the embedded system Perma-Proto board are connected to microcontroller pins on the PCB. Unfortunately, by this point, the project cannot function fully. Thanks for listening.